What's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another top 25 list. Today we're taking a look at the top 25 Nintendo Switch first-party games. Now, a couple different things here. We have some major titles coming out this year like Super Mario RPG and Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And obviously those aren't going to be on this list. We will have an update for you guys after a lot of the big games come out at the end of this year and next year, but I wanted to go over my top 25 games right now at this point as we head into the twilight of the Nintendo Switch. Now, a couple different ground rules here first, guys. The Nintendo Switch, when it comes to first-party games, I'm talking about any game that Nintendo has IP ownership of, or even partial IP ownership of. Those are all considered first-party games, even if they're developed by a third party. So I do think that needs to be established so you guys can understand some of the picks that I'm going to have on this list. And there are going to be ports, remasters, remakes, regular original games. To me, it's the best 25 games that I enjoy on the platform. Obviously, you guys are going to have your own 25 games, going to agree, disagree with what I have to say. So, of course, let me know in the comment section where I got it right, where I got it wrong, where you would place things. I'd love to see your top 25 list and, of course, go over it on a live stream or something like that. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. And we're going to start off with Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze at 25. And I think that this game really personifies what a Donkey Kong 2D platformer should be. It has all the essence and soul of the original trilogy on the Super Nintendo, but brought to the modern age. To me, I still think this is one of the best, definitely a top 5 platformer of all time, 2D platformer of all time. I think it stands toe to toe with some of the best 2D Mario platformers out there. You've got a bunch of different characters you can use. You have phenomenal graphics when it comes to the style of the game. The music is incredible. The stages are varied, fun, colorful, and just really a blast to go through. And the difficulty is what sets this game apart from many other 2D platformers out there in the modern age. You can't really go wrong with Donkey Kong when it comes to Tropical Freeze. And with the Switch version, while much wasn't changed, they did add the funky mode for people that are just getting their butts handed to them, which happened a lot on the Wii U version. So they had to make it a little bit easier for the kiddos out there and people who just suck at the game. So I think that's actually a better addition than people gave it credit for. But even without that, the game is still incredible with its content, value, replay, challenges. There's just so much stuff in this game. That's why I made it to number 25 on my list. Next up is Pokken Tournament DX, another port from the Wii U, but an enhanced port this time because Pokken Tournament DX, while not everyone is in love with this game, I loved it personally. To me, it was one of the most creative and unique fighting games ever made. It's an arena fighter combined with a 2D fighter, and it's a very unique mechanic how you go from 3D to 2D in terms of the fighting. You're fighting in the 3D arena, you're doing different types of attacks, you have a certain moveset. Bam, you knock them with a nice blow, knocks them straight into 2D mode. And then you have a whole different moveset when you're in 2D mode and you're fighting. To me, that was the most creative use of a 3D, 2D type of blend fighting game. Usually it's just 3D arena fighter for like anime games or a 2D fighter like traditional, but this game does both. And that was all the way back in 2016. And they made the game even better on the Nintendo Switch with improved online, with a ranking system that was really cool from Tekken. Of course, it was Bandai Namco that made the game, and they improved it with new modes. They have a 3-on-3 mode. They have a bunch of extra Pokemon as well. So everything's kind of refined a bit more for a better experience. All the game needs really would be rollback netcode, and this game I'd probably still be playing it, and if there was more of a community playing the game. So I'd love to see them make a new Pokken Tournament, but for right now, Pokken Tournament DX to me is one of the top 25 Nintendo Switch games. Next up at number 23, we have another first-party fighter here, and that is ARMS coming in. We've got the first built specifically for the Nintendo Switch game here as well when it comes to exclusives, and ARMS is incredible. It has the phenomenal online play. It has a really crazy, unique idea. Once again, very innovative when it comes to the combat mechanics. You have a wide variety of different weapons and arsenal you can use and strategies. Has really unique use of the Joy-Cons and motion control, or you can just use the Pro Controller. It gives you plenty of options. There's a lot of great online modes. It has a really great party mode to where you can kind of pick different games games, and it matches people up and it fights, and then at the end it tallies up everything. And I think that the online play still to this point is the best online play when it comes to smoothness and when it comes to the netcode and the rollback netcode that it has. I think it's the best that Nintendo has, and that came out at the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's life before they moved over to the NPLN servers, the new ones that they have now. So I think that there's potential in this game and in this franchise going forward. So I really hope that they make the sequel, Legs. Everyone talks about Legs. ARMS, really good game. Just was lacking a little bit of content when it comes down to it. The single player was kind of weak, very much like Pokken Tournament. There needed to be a bit more there, but they did support it for a while before they decided to just say, okay, here you go. That's all that we're doing. So I do think that in the future, ARMS could turn into something, and it sold almost 3 million units. So not bad for a new IP fighting game. Next up at number 22, Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. This is a Wii U port, but it's well enhanced when it comes down to it, and it has a brand new segment to it with the Bowser's Fury part, and that's why it's on this list. They also added online multiplayer. That was a big issue when it first came out on the Wii U. People were so upset that there was no online multiplayer. We got it here with this version, and it's exclusive to the Nintendo Switch version of the game. Now, I don't necessarily love it that much because 3D Mario or just Mario games in general with a bunch of people running around just messes things up. But I think if you have someone else that can play locally, or of course someone else that has a good connection you can play online, I think 2 people works really well, especially with some of the levels where you need a different character based off of certain things in the level. And then the Bowser's Fury part is just superb. It's not very long, but it's a completely new style in terms of format of Mario game that's open world. You can just simply go right into any level. There's not any loading screens or anything like that. The game just takes place all real time, bam, right then and there. To me, that's a very innovative feature added exclusively to the Nintendo Switch version that you can't play anywhere else unless you buy the game. You can't buy it separately. So Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, to me, with the Bowser's Fury part, with the incredible controls and the great gameplay and the upgrades and everything that they added to the game, to me, I think it's one of the best on the Nintendo Switch. Next up at number 21, Animal Crossing New Horizons. And I know some people, when it comes to core crazy Animal Crossing fans, they like hate this game or they love it or whatever the case is. But for me, it's the longest that I've ever played an Animal Crossing game, because what they did there when it comes to the online, or when it comes to the terraforming, when it comes to the different things, it was just more appealing to me to play the game. I thought it was really cool in terms of how they had it. I think that the theme of it, when it comes to New Horizons and you're going on this island and kind of how you're doing different things there, I thought it was dope. I thought it was a great game. It reviewed really well. Obviously, it's the best-selling Animal Crossing game by a country mile. And I think that Animal Crossing, when it comes down to it, it's really relaxing to play. And it came out at a very stressful time when it comes to the pandemic, and we were all kind of locked in. And it was just something fun to play. I put like 50, 60 plus hours, which is small compared to most people. But for me in Animal Crossing, I don't think I've ever put more than like 30 to 40 hours into an Animal Crossing game. So the fact that I put more time than what I did before into this one is impressive for me. To me, I still think that it's one of the best Animal Crossing games, if not the best Animal Crossing game, and one of the best Nintendo Switch games in terms of what it did with the variety and the gameplay. Of course, the graphics look nice and the online play. There were so many cool things about the game. Now, next up at number 20 is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Once again, another Wii U port when it comes down to it, but it's so enhanced. And I think that a lot of these Wii U games that are coming over to Nintendo Switch, it just shows how kind of sneakily good the Wii U library is, and then made it even better on the Nintendo Switch, because they do these things for like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, for example, right? It has a bunch of extra courses. It has like, what, 48 extra tracks, almost a whole new game. They added a ton of new characters. They increased the mechanics in the game in terms of what you can do. So for example, you have 2 items instead of 1. That completely changes the gameplay flow of the game. Still the same game from the Wii U, but just so much better in different ways when it comes to how it works. Also, like, the multiplayer online was completely revamped when it comes like to the battle mode, and when it comes to what they did with the options. You can actually have customizable options in your own lobbies now, which blows my mind. They never had that on the Wii U, but it's a game changer for playing with your friends online. They tweaked the tournament settings and different things to make that better as well. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, while poor, it's still so much better, and probably you can't go back to the Wii U version after you play the Nintendo Switch version. So to me, it's still important. That's why it's lower on my list. If it was a unique game built for the Switch, it'd probably be way higher. But number 20 is not bad. Next up at number 19 is a new game built specifically for the Nintendo Switch, like Animal Crossing and ARMS that I already had, and that's Luigi's Mansion 3. Technically speaking, some people say the best looking game on the Nintendo Switch, and I would say it's definitely in the top 5 for me when it comes down to it. But the gameplay is what makes this game really good. I love the upgrades that you can do with Luigi and Dr. Egad and everything. That was really fun. There was a lot of backtracking, kind of Metroid Prime-ish. The environments are cool. There's a lot of dope puzzles. There's a lot of cool boss battles in this game. I think that the sound design and the audio quality is superb, top notch, and I was surprised with how long the game is combined with the content as well. Not only do you have a 20-hour single player, at least for me, that is, it was 20 hours. Maybe some of you guys that are better with puzzles and all that, it's quicker, but you have a good single player campaign, but then you also have unique multiplayer mini games for local co-op, and then you have a whole online mode as well. So there is a robust package here full of single player, full of local co-op and online multiplayer that some people still play to this day when it comes to Luigi's Mansion. So Luigi's Mansion 3 definitely deserves the number 19 spot on this list. Number 18, Metroid Prime Remastered, and this is a GameCube game being remade slash remastered. There's a lot of remake stuff in this game, but it's not quite that. The gameplay is pretty much identical to what you saw on the GameCube and the Wii, but it's enhanced in a couple different ways and why I wanted it on this list. One, the game graphically looks so much better, but two, it's the first time that you can actually play this game officially from Nintendo portably, and three, they have new control options. You can use the pointer, which is great. That's always a good thing. You can also use the Pro Controller. You can use gyro controls as well, so it gives you more options than the ported Wii version had. So that was the Metroid Prime trilogy from the Wii on the Wii U. It gives you more options than that one had, plus the increased graphics as well. A couple little extra side things that you can do with narration and some of the stuff in the options, but it's the best version that you can play of Metroid Prime, hands down. I think it's even better than what some of like the ROMs and emulators and stuff like that. I think it's even better than those, because those you can't really take on the go officially unless you have some type of thing and you're doing that. This, you have a physical version, you have the digital version, you have all the different control options as well, playing docked on the TV and playing on the go. If you have a Nintendo Switch OLED, it looks beautiful, and despite me being nauseous whenever I play first-person games, and I can only play Metroid Prime Remastered in about 20 to 30 minute stints before I do get a little bit nauseous, I still kind of powered through it because the game is that. Metroid Prime Remastered earns every bit of its 18th spot on the top 25 here. Moving on to number 17, Pikmin 4, and Pikmin 4 does almost everything right. I think it takes all of the good things from Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, Pikmin 3, adds it all in together, adds some spice on top of it, then throws in, okay, here we go. We're going to make something special. I love the doggo in the game. I think that speeds up things. Pikmin desperately needed a speed bump, and it got it. It adds more depth with the upgrades that you can do to the Pikmin and also to the doggo as well. I like the fact that they brought back the underground stuff. That was really good. They have the tower defense stuff nighttime as well. When you combine the regular daytime stuff with the underground stuff with the nighttime stuff, it creates a nice fusion and blend. I think the pacing of the game is superb and fantastic. The extra content after you beat the game is good, and a very engaging story. I've never been a Pikmin story person, but this one kind of captivated me and grabbed me. I think that there's a lot of replay value with the Dandori battles. Would have been great if that was online, but you still have the local for that, the co-op as well. So I think overall, Pikmin 4 really took a lot of what the series is known for and what's great and made the best iteration of that. So Pikmin 4 to me definitely makes it at number 17 on this list and could be higher for a lot of you guys out there. Next up at number 16, Fire Emblem Engage. I love this game so much. There are some issues with it, and I do agree. Some of you guys might not even have this on your list at all, but I have to put it on here. And the reason why I will put it on here is because of the gameplay. The gameplay is the best in this series. The UI, the fonts, the quality of life features, everything in this game feels so refined. And I think that they spent a lot of time on refining that combat. I think the animations and the graphics are beautiful. There are some story pitfalls where there's some issues here and there, but I do think this is more of an anniversary game just to kind of celebrate the franchise with all the different rings that you can use of the past lords. And I think it's really more like that, providing some type of crazy in-depth like Path of Radiance or Fire Emblem Three Houses type type of story. And I understand some people didn't like that or the main character design, but for me, when it comes to a Fire Emblem purist like I am, someone that loves the gameplay, Fire Emblem Engage to me has better gameplay in many respects when it comes to the weapon triangle and what they've done and the different upgrades and the abilities and how you actually maneuver in the combat and the field and how it feels to play. I think it's even better than a lot of the other Fire Emblem games, previous Fire Emblem games, combat wise. I would love for them to make a Nintendo Switch 2 version, just have that really just going all out max, and just in terms of what the Nintendo Switch 2 can do and making it smoother and everything, because I think that there's definitely good from this game that they can take and put into the next Fire Emblem games, especially with the UI, quality of life features, and the combat options in this game. It is phenomenal, and that's why it's number 16 on my list. Number 15, we've got the pink puffball Kirby and the Forgotten Land. This game, once again, another game that can be higher on the list, and we're getting into the actual games built for the Nintendo Switch. One of the reasons why I think the Switch is the GOAT when it comes to Nintendo systems. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, best Kirby game that I've ever played, in my opinion, at least. Definitely the best 3D game by a country mile. Kirby and the Forgotten Land has superb level design, incredible graphics, phenomenal controls, really good pacing, a lot of variety within what you can do, really challenging levels once you get there later, a whole other single player campaign once you beat it, good local co-op if you want to just play like with a family member or a son or brother, daughter, whatever the case is, cousin, whatever you want to play as. It's pretty cool that they actually had that in there. There's a lot of value in this game. There's a lot of challenges. I love everything about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. And one of the things that I was a little bit worried about is the 30 frames per second for a 3D platformer. I mean, we got Super Mario Odyssey, that's 60 frames per second. We got a lot of the platforms that are 60. This one's 30. I was a little worried about that. But once you play it, you don't even feel it. It feels better than a lot of games that run at 60, because I think they did a great job with the input delay and like the latency from when you press the button to when something happens on screen. Obviously, it'd be better at 60, but the fact that it's not, it still plays so smooth. So Kirby and the Forgotten Land, phenomenal game, best Kirby game of all time in my opinion, and absolutely deserves to be number 15 on this list, and could have been higher, to be honest. Coming in at number 14, Splatoon 3, another game built specifically for the Nintendo Switch that's still going. We've got years of great content with Splatoon. We got the side order DLC that looks absolutely incredible. Love what they're doing there. But for right now, Splatoon 3 to me feels so good to play. It's got a smoothness to it that a lot of other third-person shooters just don't have. The way you maneuver, the new things that they added into the gameplay when it comes to how you maneuver, the new weapons, the new abilities, the Splatfest, all the different music that they have, how it actually tells you what music it is. It's phenomenal what they've done here with Splatoon 3. I think the single-player campaign, while I'm not a big single-player campaign person with Splatoon games, this is by far the best one, and it looks like they're upping the ante, like I said, with the side order DLC there. So to me, Splatoon 3 is the complete package, because you just don't get an online multiplayer shooter. You get one where they're continuously evolving it, and they have the single player content in there to where you can be happy with that as well. You can play the single player, the side order, and be like, okay, this is pretty good. Or if you want to play like the horde mode that they have in there, like the salmon run mode, which is also awesome. So there's so much dynamicness to the gameplay in Splatoon, and if they had a few new modes from Splatoon 2 outside of what they've already done with some of the other things in the game, like the card battling game and all of that, and the single player, of course, I probably would have put it higher. But to me, 14 is a great spot for Splatoon 3, and it's almost kind of like a Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 3 situation where I just kind of put both of them in here. But Splatoon 3 to me is super good. I just wish I had more time to play online multiplayer shooters, because I'd love to play Splatoon for longer, because anytime I play it, I always have a ton of fun. Some connection error issues at the beginning, but it seems like it's smoothed out a little bit based off the last times that I've played, and they continue making the gameplay better as well too, like with the options. They have so many more options for grouping up with your friends and the lobbies and how everything works. So they spent a lot of time on that. I think it's a really good game. So number 14 on the list here. Next up at number 13 is Bayonetta 3. Bayonetta 3 to me, some controversy, right? I get it, like with the frame rate and stuff like that. But if you just play the game and you just play and continue going and really get into the depth of this game, you'll see the ambition, like the crazy ambition that a lot of other games don't even do. The fact that you can have these huge demon slaves for the first time ever in the Bayonetta franchise, these massive demon slaves at any point bust out and do combos. You can even mix and match them and control them directly. That is a huge undertaking, and probably got them like like a lot of headaches and time to get that running somewhat smoothly on the Nintendo Switch. But even if you take away that, the combos with the mechanics in this game and the different weapons that you have, I think it's incredible. The story is a little weird and the multiverse stuff is kind of like, okay, another multiverse thing. But I think that the ending, for any fans of the Bayonetta series, the ending is so incredible and so awesome in terms of what they did. It's impossible, at least not the result at the very end, but how you get there and the final boss battles and stuff are so good. Bayonetta 3 to me kind of makes it on this top 25 list just on that, but it still has all the silky smooth gameplay. It still has all of the awesome combat options and abilities. It has all the things that make Bayonetta great when it comes down to it. It has all the different Demon Slave stuff that you can do. Bayonetta 3 is an incredible experience, incredible action game with a few issues here and there. Now, if they iron that out with Bayonetta 3 on the Switch 2, oh my gosh, this jumps up even higher. But for right now, we're going to leave it in at number 13 on the list here. Next up at number 12, Pokemon Legends Arceus. To me, only Pokemon game on the list, guys. I'm sorry to the Pokemon fans out there, but to me, this is the best Pokemon game. It is such a breath of fresh air, and it doesn't have the combat options, right? It doesn't have like the online multiplayer and all that. And if Pokemon Scarlet and Violet ran better, I think Pokemon Scarlet and Violet would definitely be on my top 25. But Pokemon Legends Arceus makes it because, one, it actually runs decent enough. Graphics aren't the best, but I think that the ideas in this game are some of the most innovative things Game Freak has done in quite some time. I love how you can sneak up on Pokemon, throw the Pokeball, catch them before they even fight. I love the making the whole Pokedex in that region. I love how it's like back in time and it's like the feudal type of era and everything. I love the designs and the customization. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a phenomenal game. And once they make a sequel to this, oh, I think that's where we see the next one on the Switch too. That's where they take this to the next level, where they don't have like the loading times and stuff like that, and they just get something a bit more. But if you play this game, to me, it's on sheer potential. But when you play, it's fun as heck, man. The combat system with the strong style and the speed style and being able to switch some of the new variants of Pokemon in that region are just super fun to play as and navigate. You can switch different Pokemon at any point to fly or in the water, just seamlessly do that. Pokemon Legends Arceus is incredible, and I hope that they continue this because to me, this is a phenomenal side series to have. So two main series between the regular Pokemon games that we see like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, all of that, and then the Pokemon Legends series, which is the single player with like the light multiplayer like trading and stuff like that. But it would be great if they added online competitive multiplayer to this game too. Next up at number 11 would be Metroid Dread, and just misses out on the top 10. And honestly, this could be higher as well. The only issue here is that Metroid Dread is not quite as long. Like when it comes to like overall value, like it's just not quite there. It's a little bit shorter, but it still has a lot of replay value, like with the DLC. Like it still has the boss rush mode and some of the other things that they added in. The most successful Metroid game of all time, and I know why. Let me break it down for you guys. Best controls, easily the best controlling Metroid game, hands down when it comes to Nintendo Switch. So many options, super silky smooth, phenomenal gameplay design. Probably the best gameplay design in any Metroid game in terms of how the levels connect, where you go, the variety of different things that you do, and the best gimmick or hook of a Metroid game, which is the Emmys. The Emmys chasing you down, having that split second to where you can kind of counter them and it gives you two options or the game is over right there. It imbues a sense of fear and dread, no pun intended, and the fact that the ending is by far the best ending in a Metroid game. Like, not even close. The best ending in a Metroid game. I love it. It pushes the series forward. It has everything that you want. The graphics are awesome. The music is not incredible. That's like the one negative thing. The music isn't incredible. It's not bad, but it's not incredible like Super Metroid and some of the other Metroid games. But outside of that, I can't really say anything wrong with Metroid Dread. It's just that good, especially the controls, the graphics, the gameplay. Everything just lines up to be the best in the series. And that's why Metroid Dread makes it to number 11 on the list. Number 10, we're getting into the nitty gritty here, guys. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. This is a Wii game remastered for the Nintendo Switch, and it's on here not because of Future Connected, because we can just skip that, but it's a nice little extra addition in what they tried to do there. But because Xenoblade is still an incredible narrative experience. It's still one of the best RPGs. You can stack it up gameplay wise to RPGs that released just this year, and you can play Xenoblade and be like, yeah, that has a lot of innovative features in there. Yeah, that does a lot of cool things in there that new games don't do. Yeah, that story is really awesome in terms of the pacing and what they do there. Oh man, there's a lot of value and content in this game. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can do. Man, there's a lot of replay value in this game, even after you beat the game. The game is brilliantly made. And the fact that Monolith Soft made that on the budget and the hardware that they did originally is just a testament to how incredible that development studio is and why people love their games so much. They're so passionate about their games. Xenoblade Chronicles is that love letter to the RPG fans out there, to the old school Square Soft fans out there that love those Final Fantasy games, that love Xenogears, Xenosaga. Xenoblade takes the best of all of those, then adds a whole new layer of awesomeness and flair to it in the 2010s plus style and up, man. So to me, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition is absolutely a top 10 Nintendo Switch game. I don't care if it's a Wii port, remaster, whatever the case is. Well, it's a remaster, not a port. I don't care about that. What I care about is the best games. And to me, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition offers one of the best experiences, top 10 experience on the Nintendo Switch system. But speaking of Xenoblade, let's get into number 9 with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 plus Torn of the Golden Country. I'm just going to go ahead and put them together, although they are separate games that can be bought and played separately, and they do have a lot of differences. To me, the experience is complete and whole with both of them as originally DLC, and of course you can buy it separately, so I'm going to include them here. And when you include the full package, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 plus Torn of the Golden Country, you can't sit here and tell me this isn't a top 5 narrative experience, because this game can be played without playing Xenoblade Chronicles first. I mean, it's still better if you play Xenoblade Chronicles first, but it can be played that way. And when you get to the revelations in this game, it really just blows your mind, especially when you see the updates and upgrades from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to Torna. The combat system in this game can be a little bit hard to get a hold of, and the tutorial isn't great. Heck, you have to buy some of the tutorial in the game as well. But once you understand the combat system, once you understand how the auto attacks work, how to position your characters, how you use your different blades, how you actually do their blade chains and their blade combos, how you actually have their affinity skill links, once you start customizing things to your fine tuning and liking and chain attacking, it becomes an incredible experience that's hard to top, even with other big Xenoblade games, although there are things that top it. But some of the things in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Torn of the Golden Country just work. With Torn of the Golden Country, the Vanguard system where you can switch back and forth is still an incredible system in terms of how they get status effects or how you get effects like launching or toppling or doing different things. It just feels great to play and a refinement of an already good combat system, but removing a lot of the difficult things in the game when it comes to Xenoblade 2, or rough edges more like it. So as a total experience, narrative, music wise, oh my god, the music second to none when it comes down to it. Music wise, narrative, when it comes to the level design and what they did, rough edges with some of the frame rate and the graphics here and there, but overall the good so far outweighs the bad. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 plus Torn of the Golden Country has to make it to number 9 on my list here. Coming in at number 8, Super Mario Odyssey, one of the best, arguably best 3D Mario games out there, and I think for good reason. Super Mario Odyssey really, I think to this day, probably is the best looking 3D platformer on the Nintendo Switch, and it was released in the first number of months of the platform's life. They maximized what they can do, but it's not just about the graphics, it's about how it runs, it's about the level design, it's about the characters, it's about the power-ups, it's about the upgrades, it's about the content, the replay value, the music, everything here. It's like all there. Now, you might not love it as much as other Galaxy games or other stuff like that, but to me, Super Mario Odyssey is there. It's a complete experience. It's an old school style of how people used to make games, where you don't have to sit there and get a bunch of different DLC or worry about the sequel coming out in the next 2 years or anything. It's like, no, here's the game, here's the theme, this is the Mario game, go out there and play it, collect everything, you're done. There's not anything else to sit there and worry about DLC for a million years or anything like that. Everything is right there, and I respect that about Super Mario Odyssey. The content's all there, take it or leave it, and I definitely took it and played it because it is awesome when it comes down to it. And I love all the different movement options like the rolling and the cappy and being able to possess different stuff like that. That's all dope too. Very colorful, bright world. Super Mario Odyssey is still incredible. You can go pick it up, play it right now, and be like, yep, this is better than most of the games that are on the Nintendo Switch when it comes down to it. Heck, most of the games that are out there just in general. So Super Mario Odyssey definitely deserves that number 8 spot on the list. Coming in at number 7, Fire Emblem Three Houses, one of the best Fire Emblem games, if not the best. Some people think it's the best. I'm not sure about that one. Fire Emblem Awakening to me is still one of those goated games, but Three Houses definitely can hold its own. And why can it hold its own? Well, one, because it has 3 campaigns in there that are all really long when it comes to like 60, 70 hours plus, depending on what difficulty you're playing on. But the story, in terms of how they seamlessly interweave the 3 different nations and what you can do and how you go about it. Not everyone's going to love every decision in terms of what path you play, but I think that a game that makes you think about that is very important. I think the game that makes you think about that lets you say, okay, I might have not liked everything there, but in life or in that type of situation, you're not going to like everything that happens. I love the gameplay in the game. I don't think it's quite as refined as Fire Emblem Engage, but there's more here when it comes down to the different characters and like who you can recruit and what's going on with the story and the different options that you can do. There's so many activities within the castle walls that you can do as well. So there's a lot of stuff here. You have 2 epic arcs when it comes down to the beginning pre-war, then like the actual war, and the decisions that you make have an effect on what happens as well. So to me, Fire Emblem Three Houses is incredible when it comes to its gameplay as well. The magic systems in the game, battalions are really cool. How they did everything with the teaching and all that, you can just automize and just set it up to where it just goes, or you can sit there and customize everything to your liking. Those are some of the things that makes it an incredible experience, incredible game, incredible Fire Emblem game. And I played through it multiple times and love it. Just gotta say, the music is top notch. The voice acting is top notch. There are so many incredible things in this game, despite some rough areas, like with some of the frame rate here and there, and the graphics are definitely in some areas. But man, the game is just so good outside of all of that. And I can't wait to see what they do next with the next big Fire Emblem game. Next up at number 6, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, the ultimate Super Smash Bros. Game. And once again, not perfect. No game is going to be perfect, but Ultimate provides so much value in content with what it offers with the character roster and the gameplay. The only issues there are some of the online play. If you have great connections and are close, it works well, but a lot of times, not so much. But even when you're playing offline, when you're playing local, it becomes a smooth experience that's just incredible to play through. Or if you have someone else that you know has a good connection, you can play online, it works well enough there. The arenas and lobbies are greatly upgraded over any other Super Smash Bros. Game by a country mall that Nintendo has released. But what I like the most is definitely the roster. I think the roster and the stages and the music are just what makes Super Smash Bros. Incredible with the controls. The controls just work so well. There's so many different control options, whether you're going to use a Nintendo Switch Pro controller or use a GameCube controller. You can customize that to your liking. But I think all the different Fighters Pass characters were super cool. Having Joker in there, having all the previous ones, having Terry Bogard and Banjo and Steve, and just all these different characters here. Sora, it just creates an experience, a crossover that's unlike any other fighting game crossover. I think to me, it's the greatest crossover of characters across the medium in any way, in an official capacity. So to me, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, with everything that it offers, with its stages, with its gameplay, with its characters, with its items, with its gameplay modes, there's just so much stuff to do, and it's super smooth at the same time. That's why it's number 6 on my list. Next up at number 5 is Bayonetta 2, a game that almost nobody played on the Wii U. It did okay for the Wii U's install base considering, but I think that Bayonetta 2 on the Nintendo Switch showed the full potential, or pretty much the full potential of what Bayonetta can be. It actually runs better on the Nintendo Switch than it does on the Wii U, and being able to play that anywhere that you want as well is incredible. And to me, it actually ups Bayonetta 3 in a number of ways when it comes to the pacing and the characters and kind of how just like the game plays out. It's a bit more grounded. It doesn't have as many cool, crazy things that happen like the Demon Slaves, but it has the most refined combat in terms of how it runs and how it looks and how everything plays out on screen compared to Bayonetta 1 or compared to Bayonetta 3. So to me, it's a happy medium in terms of what they did between all the different games, and overall pacing and gameplay and story-wise, Bayonetta 2 probably is at the top of the list here, and to me, still the greatest action game ever created, greatest pure action game ever created, not including some of the other things that action games have, like the RPG stuff like that, which we're going to talk about in just a bit. But yeah, Bayonetta 2 to me is still that good. Wii U game, doesn't matter, still one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch, hands down, even made better on the platform. Next up at number 4 is Astral Chain. And I was going to talk about that action game, but also very much RPG. I know some people dispute that, but to me, with all the different stuff, your different legions are your party members in this game. You can customize them, you can level them up, you get experience, you can level up your character. You have a lot of different options in terms of what you can do with your X-Baton, transforming from a gun to a fast baton to a huge sword. That's awesome. So it kind of gives you the dynamic of like multiple characters. You have your own character that you're using and fighting on the screen, but then you have your legions as well, and those are your different party members that can switch in and out to your liking, and at some points you can even unchain them and they're attacking, bring out another one, so it's like a 3-on-1 or 3 people attacking at a time. It takes a little bit of time to understand and kind of get the combat, but once you do, it creates a euphoria that to me has not been matched when it comes to what Platinum Games has done in this type of action RPG setting. It's just an incredible experience. It's a very unique and innovative game, and there's so many different areas they can take this. The story isn't the strongest, which I 100% agree with that. You kind of see what's coming from a mile away, but the structure, setting, replay value, very much like Super Mario Odyssey, everything's complete. Very much like Bayonetta and a lot of Platinum Games titles. Everything's complete. There is no DLC. There is no anything else to buy. Everything's in the game. Once you beat the game, a bunch of other stuff unlocks. Then there's a bunch of different challenges and different things you can do, customization and options. Everything has a purpose in this game. And as you play, you go through and like, oh my gosh, I want to unlock this and I want to get that. Then I want to do this. And oh my gosh, the graphics look good and the music is awesome. And the action is just crazy and intense and the boss battles are fun. Astral Chain has it all. Not running quite as good as Bayonetta 2, 30 frames per second with some dips in some stages depending, but overall it's still an incredible experience, and for the most part holds up incredibly well across the whole game, which is very good considering how good the game looks graphically. Definitely one of the top 3, top 5 graphics on the Nintendo Switch platform. So Astral Chain makes it the number 4 on the list. Next up at number 3, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 and Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed, the DLC add-on. And this game, it was tough in terms of the top games. I could have had it higher. Future Redeemed is by far the best Xenoblade experience that I've had, hands down. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the best game in the series, but there's some things that 1 and 2 do better, but overall I still find 3 to be the best. But Future Redeemed takes all of it. Everything that they've learned over the course of Xeno 1, Xenoblade 2, Torna, Xenoblade 3, everything that they've learned, they put it all together and put it in Future Redeemed and said, okay, we're finally going to address this stuff, like having a real Beastopedia, Collectopedia, all of that stuff. But then we're going to show you, that's been the big downfall with Xenoblade, is that there's all these huge worlds and different stuff, but man, you're confused a lot in terms of what you need to collect, when you need to get it. You need to look up guides all the time. They have all of that here with Future Redeemed. Everything is logged and organized so you can get that 100%. Nothing is wasted when it comes to no pawn coins or certain things like that. They've tweaked everything to be so much more in line in terms of quality of life. I can't help and say, man, Future Redeemed is the best Xenoblade game, but it's just too short to be the best overall because there's just not enough game in there. But if you do everything in the game, like you 100%, I spent 50 hours in Future Redeemed. It's awesome. The story and the characters and the music are phenomenal. Having Shulk and Rex come back with their kids as well is just such a cool experience, and how they've refined the combat to be faster, more fluid. I think it's more fun. I think that they tweaked little things in the settings in terms of your items and everything to make that better as well. Future Redeemed is it. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is it. And as a story experience, there's no greater experience on the Nintendo Switch than the Xenoblade Chronicles trilogy of games, and Future Redeemed ties it all together so well. I'm still shook to this day. Like, it's in the Chrono Trigger leagues of incredible storytelling and ways. I don't put a lot of games in that category, but Xenoblade 3 and Future Redeemed in particular, if you playing the whole series, is right up there. Next up at number 2 and at number 1, we're just gonna go ahead and put those two together. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild and The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And the reason why I want to put them together and also have them as 2-in-1, because I think that both of them created an impact in terms of at the beginning of the Nintendo Switch's life and at the end of the Nintendo Switch's life. The beginning, it signified that this is the new style, this is the new format. They have redesigned what an open world game, in my opinion, can be. It's no more, okay, you can't go there, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's like, well, maybe you can do that, or probably you can, or you can figure it out how to do that in Breath of the Wild. You can climb there, you can go over here, you can do that. There's this different, huge open world. You can soar across the skies here. To me, it just added a whole nother level of, wow, look at this game design. Look at what they're doing with the combat and the Sheikah slate and everything. It was an incredible experience. Now, Tears of the Kingdom comes out a number of years later, and while it might not have that big impact because the hardware is older, people are wanting a new Switch system, people are talking about more of like the frame rate and some of the resolution and stuff like that. So it's not going to have that impact. But what it does do is that it still creates opportunities. It still creates gameplay experiences that simply can't be found on any other platform when it comes down to it, and especially on the Nintendo Switch. What they've done with the Zonai arm and how you can manipulate the environment, how you can build and create a gameplay experience for every single person that's going to be unique and different, along with them trying to increase in terms of production quality when it comes to the story and when it comes to how these shrines work, when it comes to the controls, when it comes to the gameplay. Everything is improved greatly upon what they did with Breath of the Wild, a game that was already considered to be one of the best games of all time, and for some people, the best game of all time. It's absolutely in my top 5 to 10 games of all time. Tears of the Kingdom does everything the original game does and better. You don't have to play the way that they want you to play. You can play any way that you want to. If you want to play slower and like the original Breath of the Wild, you can, with some exceptions here and there. There's so many different options and things available to you in order to solve a puzzle or in order to get a quest done. To me, it creates an experience that just simply isn't replicated in any other form on the platform, with the Ascend, with the Ultra Hand and Ascend and the different abilities that you have in this game. To me, it's even smoother than what they did with Breath of the Wild and how they handled the fusion in the game as well. To me, that is just so cool because your stuff isn't breaking anywhere near as much, but it also creates a canvas to where you can create battles the way that you want to by fusing different weapons together and using that to take down enemies right there on the flies. And especially the boss battles in this game, the different areas and the boss battles that you have are just so much better to me than what Breath of the Wild did. Regardless of port, remaster, remake, whatever the case is, what are your best Nintendo Switch first party games out there on the platform? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. All right, guys, that wraps it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out my other top 25 videos like this one right here on my top 25 Nintendo Switch games overall, third party included, or my top 25 underrated gems on the platform as well. Thank you for watching. We'll catch you for the next video. Peace.